It is just a huge honor for me to bring back to the show something I never ever do. My buddy for decades, Mike Massotto, founder of Staff Driven Dental, and I wanted to bring him back to talk about his new online dental coaching on demand. He's the founder and CEO of Dental Coaching on Demand and Staff Driven Dental. After 10 years of business consulting success in both the healthcare field and coaching company executives in corporate America, he used his extensive expertise in business and personal development to master their application in the dental field. ABC, Fox News, CNN News, Dentaltown, Dentistry Today have nationally recognized him. For 25 years, his unique approach to dental practice development has helped create effortless and fulfilling lives for hundreds of dentists and their teams. He is the author of the book, The 25 Surefire Ways to Destroy Your Dental Practice. In 2004, he wrote and produced and directed a movie based on the book, which has received rave audience reviews. He also created the first ever dental reality show, short film based on the real life story of one of his top clients in 2005, which received numerous accolades and top video production awards. My God, let's post both of those on Dentaltown. Send me the videos, man. He has been a guest speaker at New York University School of Dentistry, Temple University, Columbia School of Dentistry, Rutgers School of Dentistry, even back when it was called, didn't it used to be called New Jersey Dental School or Farley Dickinson?
UMDNJ back in the day, yeah.
Where he has offered practice management advice and guidance to dental students. In addition to his regular contribution of articles in Dentistry Today, he's also featured in the Journal New Jersey Dental Association, as well as Dental Resource Magazine, a publication which he founded in 2012. He founded Executive Dental Advisors, EDA, a nonprofit professional association of dynamic dental specialized companies founded exclusively to serve the diverse and vast needs of dentists for business on dental practice. You can also follow Mike on Facebook and YouTube for his weekly music and insights on practice management and personal development from the highways and byways of New Jersey and New York. And you still haven't told me if you're a Springsteen or a Bon Jovi boy. Which one are you?
I have to admit that I'm a Bon Jovi guy.
the hair got you, huh?
Having the Bon Jovi here back in the day with the business in the front and party in the back. That was my hair back in the day.
His best song is what is it? On My Way Back Home, or what is on Bon Jovi Home? His best one is Who Says You Can't Go Home. That's his best one. But what I don't like about Bon Jovi is everybody always confuses me with him in the airports. You know,
I can see that.
Yeah, but my God, and this is what I want to tell my homies. I brought him back for a second time. I never do that. But, you know, a lot of times, guys, you're listening to consultants that are out there in, like, you know, Beverly Hills and Key Biscayne, Florida, and Scottsdale, Arizona, where, you know, basically, you know, it's pretty easy to survive. You're in the biggest city in America, New York City, the tri-state area, where they got 5 dental schools in New York. He's basically in the bottom of dental hell, and he makes it work. I mean, I've lectured with you. We've been on the same stage for decades, and so many of these guys, and they're talking to me, and I'm like, my God, you look like you couldn't run a shoe store. He looks like Al Bundy on the shoe store thing. And man, you're in the most competitive market in the world. So if you're listening to this and you're in some if you're in rural America, I mean, this guy is the NFL, and rural America, that's like winning a game in high school. Let me tell you, though, the chapters of the book says, Mike, every time I think of your name, I remember I was flying back from lecturing with you, and you gave me this book, The 25 Surefire Ways to Destroy Your Dental Practice. I'm reading it. I'm laughing my ass off. I'm crying. The guy next to me is like, what are you reading? Everybody's asked me what I'm reading, but they saw the dental thing. But it says, realize that it's not a business you're running. Chapter 2, treat your people like dirt. 3, nickel and dime people to death. Overcharge as often as you can get away with. Hire fast, fire fast. Be offensive. Resist change. Keep your personal life in shambles and bring your troubles to the office. Don't educate your patients. Be as serious as possible. Hate kids. Make it a dead-end job for everyone but you. Insist on being right about everything all the time. Trust no one. Pump all your money into marketing. Never be on time. Don't keep your word about anything. Create a chaotic work environment. Work fast. Family second. Hire a slave, not an associate. Keep a lawyer in your back pocket. Keep your facility like a pigsty. Make a lot of enemies. Cut corners and start your day with a large dose of antidepressants. I mean, my God, I was bawling my head off. Talk about a guy who had been in hell for a decade before he wrote that book. But man, really, you've seen it all. And the reason I brought you back is, by the way, I'm a big fan of your Dental Road Warrior podcast by Mike Massotto on YouTube. But the reason I brought you back on the show is you've always been an innovator, but you're going to start coaching online. Was that a COVID-19 thing where, you can't be breathing on each other, or where'd all this come from?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me back, Howard. It's great. It's always a pleasure seeing you over the years. We've had a lot of fun together, whether we're presenting together, we're talking. We did this podcast way back when you came into New Jersey one time. We sat down together, talked about the book and a bunch of other things. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for 25 years now. I know I don't look it, but I mean, talk about. You're right. I always talk about coaching in the jungle because from where I'm sitting, just to put this in perspective for your listeners, if you put a pinpoint in the map, I did the demographics on this. There's over 15,000 licensed dentists within 100 miles of where I'm sitting. Okay,
say that stat again.
There's over 15,000 licensed dentists if you put a pinpoint in the map from where I'm sitting. Okay, you talk about like competitive marketplace. There's nothing like it in the entire world. To put this in perspective, the state of Connecticut has a little over 1,000 dentists in it. The entire state of Maine has a little over 700 dentists in it. Okay, and you can throw all the rest of the New England states inside of Maine. So there's a lot of dentists here. It's a highly competitive.
But wait, say over 15,000 licensed dentists in Manhattan?
No, in a 100-mile radius from where I'm sitting in Jersey. Okay, so you put 15,000 dentists in that area. That includes Manhattan. That includes, there are whole buildings of, people don't really realize this, that in other parts of this country, that in Manhattan, there are actually buildings where every floor is dentists. So you walk into the building and every floor of the building is dentists on every floor across the hall from each other. That's insane. And they're operating to get patients within like a 6-block radius. So talk about competition. By the way, Manhattan is the second worst place in the country to have a dental practice, by the way. If you want to set up a dental practice, stay away from the allure of Manhattan. You don't want to be working in Manhattan, the second worst place in America to start a dental practice and be successful. You know where the first place is? It's the worst, Howard? You touched on it before.
Manhattan.
Huh? Manhattan. First place is Manhattan. The second worst place in the country is Beverly Hills, California.
Really?
I think there's more dentists out there than people, because I think everybody went out there trying to make money off the rich people. There's more dentists than people out there. But but like I said, I've been doing this for a long time, and like I said, the Dental Road Warrior came from the fact that I'm unlike other people. I'm in the trenches every single day. I spend my day on the road. We're in hundreds of dental practices every year, hands-on with practices. We don't do this remotely from semi-retirement in Arizona, or someplace warm. We are literally in the trenches every single day working with offices. So, and if it can work here, it can work anywhere, because like you said, the competition level, the stress levels, you have to be innovative. You got to be creative constantly, because it is tough. And dentists here are tough, right? You've met them. These are not easy personalities to deal with. I love them to death. It takes a Jersey guy personality like me, wise guy personality to handle some of these guys and women. But at the end, it's very rewarding because of the transformational stuff that it does. And we're very, very, very proud of that. So, doing it fun.
Well, I have to tell you that when I gave my I got out of school in 87. In 1990, I decided I was going to give a lecture, and no one's going to invite me. I was too young and dumb, so I set up my own. I set up in New York City, and the only lecture man that reached out to me was Rick Kirshner. And he called me up and he said, I see all this. And so what are you doing? And I told him. He says, oh, okay. And where are you from? And I said, Kansas. He goes, okay, have you ever been in New York City? And I said, no, that's why I want to go there. And he said, son, they are going to eat your freaking lunch. He says, you need to go where they're polite. You're in Kansas. Go to Nebraska. Go to Missouri. Go to Iowa, North and South Dakota. He said, if you go to North Dakota, they'll just be so thankful that you went there. They'll stay the whole day. But New York City, they're going to and I was so young, dumb. I just went there. But my God, I'm telling you, it's the most competitive market there is out there. But that's how I got to meet Rick and Cindy Kirshner. And then what I really loved about him the most is I said, well, hey, I'm lecturing, and you got this Mean and Lean video cassette tapes. Will you send me your cassette tapes complimentary? He goes, hell no. He goes, you think I'd be a multimillionaire and have a jet if I gave away my shit for free? Hell no, I'm not giving it. But I loved it. But here's what I always wondered about those cosmetic dentists. When you go to Scottsdale, here in Arizona, or you go to Beverly Hills, it seems like the biggest legends and all that kind of stuff like that. Not all of them are the absolute biggest or whatever, but like I know in Arizona, the middle class dentist in Glendale, Peoria, Chandler, Mesa, whatever, they do better work for a lot less money. And then you go to the ones that have the Taj Mahal and all the marketing and advertising and TV. I mean, everyone knows that that's average to below average work. And it seems like Beverly Hills is like, wow. It's like I'd rather go to a nobody in Compton, and you probably get better work for half the price. So it's kind of like if they put too much money into the pizzazz. Like it was one of your 25 deals. One of your 25 deals said, pump all your money into marketing. It's like if you pump all your money into marketing, you didn't pump it all into getting your FAGD, your MAGD, your diplomat, the machine. Do you see, is it a good rule of thumb to say the biggest marketers in the richest cities in the world are not doing the quality from the blue collar middle class?
Well, I'm going to give you a perfect analogy without naming names. In the consulting industry, in dental consulting industry, I mean, unfortunately, and I'll be the first to say this, there are, and for doctors that are listening to this, there are a lot of bad dental consultants out there, unfortunately. You know, there's some good local people running around that have 4 or 5 clients that do that kind, but on a national level, in terms of the guys that do, women that do this, unfortunately, it's a lot of marketing, it's a lot of facade, it's a lot of bells and whistles and everything else like that. But at the end of the day, the quality of the coaching and the quality of the coaches aren't just there, and the material's not there. So, I mean, the information is good, but the delivery is not there. The follow through is there. The accountability is not there. So there's a lot of companies out there. They'll spend they have a big budget. They spend a fortune in marketing because they have to, it's law of averages. They have to fill up the pipeline with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people just to get the people that want to have sign up and have the volume. I don't have a mass volume model that I do. I have a quality model. But it's worked for me very, very successfully. Go read my reviews. I'm not making this stuff up that's out there. But unfortunately, a lot of doctors, because they don't know any better, they see the slick marketing and everything they get, and they figure these guys must be legit. This person must be great, and I'll throw hundreds of thousands of dollars at this consulting material to basically get a lot of information. I don't sell information, I sell a result. That's what it comes down to. Having been in the health and fitness industry, you joked about that before. I started 2 of the first personal training gyms in New Jersey back in the 80s. This is when personal training was a big West Coast fad. Like the only people doing personal training were these crazy people in California that were spending $30 a session. Think about that. $30 a session for personal training. Now it's hundreds of dollars for one session. But back then, $30 could buy you a gym membership at Jack LaLanne's. If you remember Jack LaLanne's back in the day, which became Bally's, all right, you could buy an annual membership for there. But what were you paying for? You were paying for basically use of the equipment and to go to the facility. You weren't paying for a result. You weren't paying for anybody to hold you accountable to get there and push you to get where you want it to be. So the same kind of concept with personal training. And it took off in New Jersey because, our number one client, they said it would never work here, ended up being women, because women would come in with a magazine with a picture and say, I want to look like her in 12 weeks. So basically, they didn't care about how nice the gym was or the equipment or whatever it may be, or the membership. They wanted to buy a result. So they paid for it. And you get what you pay for sometimes, So that's kind of how it worked, how it progressed into my coaching. Because my first business card, when I started doing solo dental consulting, was just me back in the day. My tagline was, it was personal training for your practice. And everybody kind of got that. Oh, so you're going to stand over me and kick my ass? That's what they envisioned. Someone like, someone yelling over like Body by Jake from back in the day, some guy yelling on you and pushing you. They can understand the concept of someone being there to really coach them and hold them accountable to making sure they implementation and follow through. And that's kind of always how I built my brand and my model from there on results, not just on information. I mean, look, we have the internet now. Back in the day, 25 years ago, how much internet was there? There was no social media like today. You couldn't just go download volumes of information. You could go download volumes of consulting information. But how do you sift through? How do you know if it's going to work? In your particular practice, with your particular patients, in your particular town? There's a lot of variables. And it's going to work my particular team. That's where the coaching comes in. So it's not just the material you're buying when you buy this kind of thing. It's having a coach or consultants behind there. They really are dedicated to making sure you implement this and get the result. Because at the end of the day, the bottom line is the bottom line. No matter what you do, whether it's online, which we'll talk about coaching on demand, or anything else you do, what are you paying for? You're paying for an increase in revenue. Hopefully, you want to make more money. It's okay to make more money, to have a better life in practice, to have a better trained team. What are the tangible outcomes you're looking to purchase here? Are you buying a binder? You know, I mean, you can buy a binder, a lot of great binders now. A lot of them are virtual. And what do you get? A very expensive binder. You're not buying any kind of result with that. You're buying information. And again, that in and of itself is not going to get you where you want to be. So that's kind of why I've always done things the way I've done it, very successfully. And I don't have very many failure cases, unless, you know, if you want to fail, yeah. If you don't want to show up, like the gym, you don't want to show up for your training, you know, and you don't follow through, of course it's not going to work. But barring that, you know, having somebody you can partner with in your life, a trusted advisor who's going to, you know, teach you not to do all those pitfalls in that book, you know, that's the way to go. And in terms of getting a result from your coaching.
My gosh, I always wondered about you whenever, you know, I would lecture and you would lecture and I'd get to see you and you get to see me, then I'd go steal all your material. But I always thought of myself, my God, you're like in the NFL in the depths of the competition, 15,000 dentists and all that stuff. Man, if you just went to like the happy-go-lucky Midwest, you'd wipe them off the floor. I mean, you'd be like NFL going to high school. You mentioned another one of my idols, and it was Jack LaLanne. Here's my favorite quotes from that guy. The only way you get that fat off is to eat less and exercise more. Do you know how many calories are in butter and cheese and ice cream? Would you get your dog up in the morning for a cup of coffee and a donut? We don't all know the answers. If we knew all the answers, we'd be bored, wouldn't we? We keep looking, searching, and trying to get more knowledge. Last but not least, probably millions of Americans got up this morning with a cup of coffee, a cigarette, and a donut. No wonder they are sick and fouled up. But I got to hang it. What I liked the most about Jack LaLanne was the impact he had on my mom, and, you know, she was a stay-at-home woman with 7 kids. He invented this space. He was the first. But what I liked about him, I always tell dentists, you know, they always call me up with a great idea, and I just hold up my hand. Is it faster, easier, higher quality, lower cost, and smaller? And they say, no, well, it's so good that I had to charge so much more. And I'm like, dude, you're just going to be noise till someone runs you over from behind. But what Jack LaLanne, the most genius thing he did, he was the guy who invented this space. He was on TV. He knew every stay-home mom with 7,000 Catholic kids running around, had no money. And guess what the only thing you needed was? Did you need weights and a gym membership and a rubber band? And you needed a chair. You needed a freaking chair. That was the only prop he had. And then he'd make excuses, say, if you don't have a chair, you know, just do this. And I'm like, God dang, man. And I know, I remember my kids wanted a Stairmaster. So I said, yeah, man, let's go get it right now. So we all jumped in my SUV and we drove to Home Depot and I bought them each a cylinder block for $1. I said, there's your Stairmasters put on the ground. And so this online CE, by the way, that video, when I'm on your website, staff driven, right here, I see that on your deal, you have this really cool video. And it's 1 minute and 45 seconds. That video you have?
Which one? On Dental Coaching on Demand?
Yeah, Dental Coaching on Demand?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want Kyle to, you want to send him the video? We'll insert it right here.
Yeah, I can send you the video.
Oh, okay,
Sure.
Kyle, let's insert that video right here.
Have you ever wondered why the business of dentistry seems so challenging? Well, just imagine what it would be like if you tried to be a successful dentist without ever attending dental school. What if you were never taught any of the technical skills or given the academic knowledge that it would take to master your profession? It would honestly make it almost impossible to treat anyone with just taking the trial and error approach. The results wouldn't be positive, to say the least. Of course, you would never do this even if you could. So why would you try this with the business aspect of your practice? Coaching on Demand takes all the guesswork and trial and error out of succeeding and thriving in practice. We teach you everything you weren't taught in dental school about the business of dentistry. Your personal practice management coach is always just a few clicks away. With her professional guidance and advice through implementing our cutting-edge curriculum, you and your team will take the practice to the next level of growth and development. All our coaches have over 15 years of experience working in all aspects of dental practice, from management to administrative and clinical. And all of them are masters in helping you overcome what is holding you back from achieving your optimum level of practice success. Get matched today. Start your coaching by selecting the program with the level of commitment that best fits your individual practice needs. Finally, there's a practice management for the 21st century dentist that's affordable, accessible, and on demand. We look forward to partnering with you. Thanks for watching.
So now it's 1 minute and 45 seconds. What drove you to do dental coaching on demand?
Well, it was actually, the ironic thing was that was in development before the whole COVID thing. With the Zoom technology and video technology coming around. And I had this in production for a long time with the concept of how do you expand the reach while at the same time not losing the personal touch of coaching, by having it be virtual. Right. I didn't want it just to be, because I don't want it to be two-dimensional where you can just go watch a video, or watch a class online. I want it to be the powers in the coaching, having that coach who's on the other side of the call like this, working with them with the curriculum. So now they can get the same experiences that they work for staff driven in this market on a national level. But the concept came, I took the concept very simply from online therapy. If you look, what's really big right now in this country is BetterHelp and Talkspace. These are two huge online therapy companies. I think Michael Phelps is a spokesperson for one of them. And you look them up, and it's a huge thing right now where people have their virtual couch. In other words, they don't want the stigma of going to an office or going through insurance and trying to get approved for a therapist of some sort. Now they can go on one of these sites, say I have an eating disorder. And they want to get help. And they put that in, and they get matched, almost like Match.com. They get matched with a therapist. It's work meets their needs, and based on the level of membership is how much exposure they get personally to their therapist. And it's massive. There are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people doing this right now every single day. I say, what a concept. If it can work with life and death situations like that, why can't it work with dentistry, where you have a platform like COD, like Dental Coaching on Demand, where you have your own virtual coach who you can live chat with when you want to and get chat support, or have phone calls or Zoom calls with, and coaching calls or coaching meetings right through your computer right now, and have all the curriculum up there and have someone guide you through the whole thing, and have someone who's going to hold you accountable virtually like this, at a more reasonable fee too as well, where you can pay something each month and get massive value just by logging in or talking or set up an appointment with your coach every single month. So it was in development for a couple of years because it didn't, it's a lot to build out a platform like this to really function in the functionality of the whole thing and everything else. But, and it was getting ready to launch right before COVID, as a matter of fact, hit. So when the whole world got turned upside down and everything went Zoom, it just magnified the need for this whole thing that I've had, as it was always in development. So ironically, the timing was great to launch this whole thing, to put it out there. And now it's out there, and we're getting a lot of inquiries right now coming on board. And ironic, one of my first clients several months ago, we launched it, that signed up, was from Norway. So it was an international reach. So now you not only, if you're English speaking, why not? And we've been coaching the guy in Norway, which was fantastic. So it just goes to show you the power of the internet, right? And what the funny thing, 25 years ago, the question I used to get a lot: "Hey, Mike, I heard about this thing called websites. Think I should have one?" This is when websites were just coming out. Now look what we can do online to do the whole thing. So this is what we can duplicate ourselves, more, and have a bigger reach. So if someone wants to get coaching from someone like me and from California or whatever, now they can. So having this platform on Dental Coaching on Demand is really a phenomenal way of doing that. And putting tutorial videos up there, and how-to videos and demo videos of clients doing, and how, like if we wanted to about a morning huddle. Well, here's one of our top clients doing a morning huddle. We can put that up there. If you want to have other courses to do up there, and demo and tutorials of how to do certain things, like here's a process of closing a case. Now you can go right on there and do all that kind of stuff, which is fantastic, and have a coach explain to you how it would work in your practice, because there's no cookie cutter way of doing this. Everything's got to be customized to your office. You just can't watch a video and just do something verbatim by what's being said there or how they're doing it. It's got to be, you have to understand the client, because every client is different. Every practice is different. So then that's where the coaching comes in. Because really, that's the power really of the whole site, is really the coaches that I have behind the scenes. And I'm very proud of the coaches I've had. I mean, these are women that have 30 plus years of experience in the dental industry, minimum, in clinical and management, and they've done this for a long, long time before even becoming coaches, which is great. So they have a vast wealth of knowledge from working in dental offices. These are not just junior people that I pawn off on people. You're getting a superior person to work with and partner with to help you with your practice, which is a great thing, having a resource like that.
Okay, so it says how coaching on demand works. So if you go to his website, Dental Coaching on Demand, Dental Coaching on Demand, that's DCOD, Dental Coaching on Demand. 1, sign up, select the level of commitment and coaching support of the program that best fits your practice needs. Get assigned your personal practice coach and schedule your initial orientation video conference call to start your coaching. Create a customized training plan with accountability for implementation and success. And then it says, achieving quantifiable results. Set specific and measurable professional and financial goals for you and your team to achieve with continued on-demand support needed. Number 2, be kept on track and accountable to attaining gradual ongoing improvement and change in all areas of desired and needed attention in your practice by your pro coach who is driven to helping you overcome the barriers to practice success. And 3, win the game. Follow your action plan through to successful results you can bank on. So let's go back to number 1. Sign up. Select the level of commitment and coaching support of the program that best fits your needs. Well, what does that mean? And where would I go?
There's different coaching programs. If you go there, there's membership. If you scroll down there, there's a place where you can go to, it'll give you the different packages, coaching
packages. It says select your coaching program?
Yeah. So if you click on that, it pops up and it gives you different ones. And the pro level of coaching is a nice intro level thing. It's a 6-month commitment. It's really inexpensive to do. I mean, I think it's $4.90. I want to say it's $4.99 a month.
Right.
I mean, just one phone call for the information you get from your coach in one phone call. That's worth 10 times that in terms of what you're doing, because most practices bleed out money every single day. I mean, true or false, Howard, you know this. There's money walking out the door of the practice every single day. True or false?
True.
Every day. Okay. And that has to do with because every dollar flows through your team. They make or break you every day, what they do every single day, on what they say or don't say, what they do or don't do. Learning simple things, through the, having the outside coaching to look at your blind spots to teach you these things, then the money you start bleeding money for the first part. We're always looking, like I said, that pump your money into marketing. We're always looking to do the next big marketing gimmick to drive more people in the door. And it's incredible how many practices I meet that have, so many new patients coming in the door, and you look at their retention level and it's horrific because they don't keep these patients. They don't make lifetime patients out of them. They don't convert them to come back, and that's a big part of the whole thing. So having your internal operations up to speed is really important. Jenna, how about generating more internal new patients? I mean, there's a lot of opportunities you miss there. That's the low hanging fruit. Those are the best patient. Anybody doctor will tell you the best patients you can get are the ones that are right under your nose every single day from your existing patient base. And most practices don't have a proactive internal referral system. This is all the kind of stuff that's taught, by coaches out there, that teach you how to do these things, that's on there. So so that's a nice little entry level thing. It's not a massive commitment, and your office manager can do it for that. We have a lot of managers that use it. Hey, doc, give me your card. I'm gonna put it on your card, and I'm gonna get some coaching every month. And then they can take these ideas back and implement it if you have a really strong manager. You don't have to even do the coaching yourself if you don't want to. I tell the docs before, everything I did before was contingent on the doctors being involved. Now managers we have a lot of managers just doing this coaching, which is fantastic to do. When they sign up.
I gotta put my my 2 cents in on there, and that is with it comes down to staff turnover. A lot of people they don't understand how staff turnover is measured. A lot of them will sit there and say, well, staff turnover. I got a new dental assistant, and I stopped at Starbucks and got her some donuts and a coffee, and I went in there and spent 15 minutes with her, and the whole thing cost me 15 minutes, and that's not how they measure staff turnover. How they measure staff turnover is they'll take an industry and they'll say, okay, here's what the average, and who cares about production and collection? No one even cares about that crap. It's net income, profit dollars. So here's an industry, say it's airlines, and if your average employee has been there 10 years and you're netting, say, $10,000 a year per employee, and then here's that same industry where the average employee stays 5 years, and then it's $5,000 in net. So they say the cost of training a new employee is $5,000. And every time I go find a dentist who's they're collecting $1 million and doc's taking home $250 and they're closed 3 days a weekend, the youngest person in the office has worked there 12 years. And then people sit there and they believe all this DSO hype bullshit, which Wall Street won't touch them. Not one of them could do an IPO. Snapchat did an IPO, and that was designed to send someone a nudie picture that dissolves after they open it. And I learned this when you sent me one, and I couldn't believe it, but it dissolves, so I can't prove it.
That was an accident, Howard. I wasn't trying to send it to you.
And it came from the same town as that Anthony Weiner. I thought maybe you guys set up the same Twitter account. But the bottom line is when you look at the DSOs, I mean, I'm in ground zero for DSOs, right? Because Governor Ducey passed a law that if you're licensed to practice dentistry, nursing, medicine in any state, you get a license here. So they all flooded to Arizona, and 18 out of 100 dentists work for a DSO. And I don't know what the DSOs are doing, because every patient comes in, they say, well, I went in there and the dentist said I had 4 cavities. So I scheduled an appointment and went back, and now he ain't there no more. And then the new dentist there said I only had 2. And then I asked to see his boss. And I mean, it's just, dude, it's a dental office. You can't have them see a different damn dentist every day they walk in. So their employee turnover is crazy. And then one of your surefire 25s was to say, oh my gosh, where did you put it?
Hire fast, fire fast.
Hire fast, fire fast. You can't build a damn dental company when every time you go in there, it's a damn different dentist. And then on LinkedIn, in the last 5 years, a gazillion dental placement agencies have popped up where they'll get $5,000 if they can deliver a doc to a box. And it's like, why are they? It's like paying new patients. That was the one I was going after. Spend all your money on marketing, because they shouldn't be spending $5,000 on a new doc for their box. They should be spending $5,000 on the last doc who ran off. And they need to slow down employee turnover. And they're already getting an A on location, hours, billboard, radio, television, logistics, call centers. They're getting so many A's. They just need to drop the marketing shit and put all that money into employee retention. Because here's my point I was going to make. You take the girls running today's Zone right now. Lori Zalowski, been with me 20 plus years. Dawn, 20 plus years. Ken, the original programmers from 98. But you take Dawn and Lori and all that. When I first met Lori and Dawn, I was flying them around. I remember flying them to Florida for Sally McKenzie, who just passed away during the deal. And, all these training people, and it didn't cost me a dime, because they're still here 20 years later. So I want to start there. My book was People, Time, and Money. I want you to start first with the people, because a lot of times when they're looking for a consultant like you, I'm thinking, I mean, your girl up front, she's no Kathy Nicoletti. Shout out to Kathy Nicoletti, me and you. Who loves her more, me or you?
You do, I think.
Oh my gosh,
she was one of my field reps. She was one of my field reps out there. Yeah.
Really? Well, and her little boy, is now 6'1". But Kathy Nicoletti, I mean, I meet some of these receptionists, they ain't no Kathy Nicoletti, and sometimes I think, so how do you make the hard call that you're a consultant? I mean, if you were a workout coach, Jack LaLanne wouldn't say, well, you're Howie, you're too fat. Just go home and eat some butter. So where do you draw the line that you can coach the most important person in the office, obviously, is answering the phone. I don't care what anybody says. If you go to look at every small business in America, the person taking incoming sales calls and outselling calls, that's the big dollar boy. That's the $100,000. That's the guy who wears a suit and tie. He makes almost as much as the owner. Now, the guy in the back working the machine, he's in overalls with a lunch pail. He ain't the high dollar. Dentistry's reverse. Now the welding guy, he's standing at his metal snap machine making a side baler in Mays, Kansas. He makes the big dollars. And the person answering the phone, zero training. They don't record their phone calls. They don't know their conversion rate. You say, hey, buddy, if 100 calls came in, how many get converted to a butt in a dental chair? They don't even know what you're talking about. So I know it's a long question, but the call centers, I've been in that. Next time you're out in here in Arizona, we'll go see Bob Fontana's call center in Chandler, Arizona. It'll blow your mind. They won't hire anybody with any dental experience because they say it's like a bad golfer. They can't change your swing. And they can get you up to about a 60 to 80% conversion rate to a butt in a chair. And my homies out there, they don't even measure it, and it's not even close to a third. So I know it's a lot of questions at once, but start off with people are the most important. The incoming call is the most important. How do you know if you look at this first, say, she ain't teachable, she ain't trainable. We need to get her out of here and interview 30 people. How do you make that decision?
Well, first of all, I mean, I branded this company a long time ago. When my original company that founded Coaching on Demand is Staff Driven Dental, and Staff Driven tells you a lot. I was a staff member at one time. And I'm a product of the consulting. People say, I always tell people I didn't come out of the box this way. I had worked for a doctor in the alternative medicine field many years ago, just a few years out of college, who sent me to a consulting company to learn marketing for new patient marketing. And this is before the internet was really around. Was just before, and so everything I was doing was like whether it was speaking events or going out and doing health fairs and things like that. I did everything on the hitting the pavement kind of stuff. I was trained by a consultant. To do that. But the doctor realized that you invest in your people. He had a diamond in the rough. He said, I'm going to pay to get this person, just like you did, pay to get this person trained. And I made that doctor a fortune from what I learned, because I implemented everything. I ate it all up. I love the business of healthcare. And that's what lit me up and got me excited. It wasn't the clinical part. It was the business of healthcare and no one was doing it. And it also didn't hurt that I was one guy and 300 women in training. That was fantastic back in the day. But I was doing it. I was like the celebrity guy, because it was a women's field. And just like dentistry is today, that's out there. But that's how it started. And I named the company Staff Driven because I realized the staff should drive the practice. Highly trained, highly qualified staff should drive the era of the doctor-driven practice is long over. When I first started doing this, everything flowed to the doctor. His name was on the door. The buck stopped with him. Every decision, no decisions got made. No change happened. Nothing happened in the operation unless it went to the doctor. But you're going to have a very finite ceiling for growth when everything goes to the doctor. When you have multiple people in your operation that are all highly trained and thinking entrepreneurially, like this is my company, they're taking ownership of the place. They have an incentive to grow it, because and they're looking at your bottom line, and they're looking at things like overhead every single day. They care about where the money's going because they have an incentive program that's tied to that. So they're worried about you. They got your back. They don't have something in your back to differentiate on that kind of thing. That's when you're going to thrive and grow. So the staff-driven practice, when there's 8 or 10 people all driving toward the same goal, has an unlimited ceiling for growth. And a lot of times it's hard for doctors with their egos and to let go of control and let go of some power. And just do what you do best, Doc. I say this all the time. I'm not a dentist. I don't have any clinical training whatsoever. I would never try to go into your practice and try to do clinical work or advise you on clinical work. So why are you dabbling and playing around with areas where you're not expert? Let the experts come in, coach these people, coach the team, let them do all that work that you don't want to be involved. They all complain they hate doing it and they get themselves involved in it. I'll see doctors, they want to hover around the front desk and get involved in the schedule. Why do that? It's always going to end up being a debacle. I always tell doctors, would you want me walking into your room in the middle of a crown prep and say, Doc, let me do that for you. Let me show you how it's done, right? You go crazy if that was the case. What do you think your staff feels when you do that kind of thing? That's admitting that you don't have highly trained staff or you don't have people that are trained and up to speed. But it all starts with willing people. You have to find the right people. Like that's what when I go and do an analysis of staff, do I have willing people? Because the willing will always work. You can always bring them up to speed. Obviously, you have to handle the right person. You have to screen them. There's a whole way to hire people. When I say hire slow, the rule of thumb is hire slow. Make them jump through a lot of hoops, qualify them. So you really make sure you got the right person. Because you said the turnover of going through person after person, if you make the mistake, really drags down the practice. It's a huge cost for the practice. So I'm not going to get into the whole hiring process that I do to bring people in. But the existing people I want to find out when I got there, when I'm interviewing them and I'm meeting them all personally, do we have players here? Are they gamers? Are they willing to play the game, willing to produce, willing to comply, willing to change? That's what you need, right? That's willing to be coached, right? That's the kind of person, those are the only kind of staff members that work. Now I want to root out the defiant negative staff, the ones that are not, but are pushing against you every single day. Like I have this big vision, this big goal to grow my practice or change it or improve. And you have these staff, and I still encounter these every day and I know them when I meet them in 5 minutes. Okay. But I'm not going to fire them immediately. I'm going to let them fire themselves. I'm going to let them remove themselves because you don't want to bring the morale down the place. You bring a consultant and the first thing you're doing is cleaning house and firing people, which is a mistake. We're going to let the doctor see and the rest of the staff see, hey, look what you got here. Okay. Here are the unwilling people. Here are the defiant negative people that are against you that are bringing the whole thing down. Oh, now I see it. And they push them out of the nest or they make them move. We make it that they have to move out. They move on their own, which is a beautiful thing. So we don't want defiant negative people. We sure as hell don't want the worst type of staff, which is the criminal element. And I've seen this in my time too. The criminals are the ones that are there, ripping you off every single day by their presence. I'm not saying they're like, funneling money. And I've seen this before multiple times, embezzlement, checks. I've seen it all in my day, especially out here in Jersey. All right. We are, but you can have staff members that are just a black hole of money, the way they just sit there and they're driving away people by the way they are. The negative person at the front desk receiving, you talked about the phones. You know how many times I call an office and I get an angry person on the front desk? Like they're pissed off and annoyed that I called. And I was told to call the office. That could be a patient for all they know, you know, and I don't have to do secret shop. I can just call the office and tell you in 5 minutes what the kind of person you have on the line that's there. And that person sitting at your front desk, driving people away by their presence, it's almost criminal. You know, they're causing gossip and they're upset among the team and disharmony, and you feel miserable about going in and being around these people. That is basically criminal behavior. And why are you paying for people to sabotage your practice? So that's the first place to look. Do I have willing people? And then they can be trained in anything. You can train them in anything and bring them up, but you look for those people, you know, as a starting point, and then develop them from there. You know, and I only have those kind of people that work for me. Like you mentioned Kathy before. You know, these are the superstar players. These are the rainmakers. In corporate America, they call these kind of people rainmakers because those are the people that make money happen. You know, those kind of people that are just putting money in your pocket. They're filling your schedule. You never have a hole. They're taking care of cancellations. They're closing the cases. You know, they're collecting money. They're on top of the insurance. Those are the kind of people you want leading the show and running and quarterbacking the operation. You know, and then you're just along for the ride, which is a wonderful thing. And that's what it should get to. People say, well, this is Mike, you're teaching pie in the sky. I don't teach fluff. You know, look, you can look at me. I'm not a fluff kind of guy. I work in Jersey. You know, every other part of our coaching is F this, F that. Every single day we work with people because that's the kind of way you have to be in people's faces out here to get things done sometimes. Like they'll pay me a lot of money and then they're going to fight me or resist me and tell me how they want to be coached. That ain't going to work. Okay. You know, it's like a patient in your chair telling you how they want the dentistry done. Does that ever work when you have a patient telling you how you want the dentistry done? That's not going to work. Yeah. So with coaching, having a personal coach like that, being in your face and being on top of you, they make sure that you can, you know, they don't take resistance and push back. As I always tell, look, when we're coaching you, you can accept a client or counter offer, anything we say, right? But if you're going to decline, I want why, okay? And if you're going to counter offer, well, it better be better when I'm telling you. You better have a good reason behind it. Otherwise, we're moving forward with the coaching here, right? So that's again, reiterating, again, the kind of coaching and the kind of people that are going to receive this coaching is vitally important.
Man, you so well said. Okay, so back to your program where I want to hold your feet to some of these details on that. So you have a 6-month program. You have the 6-month program for $4.99 a month. You got to commit 6 months. That's called the Pro 6-month. You have an Elite 12-month. You say that's says one of our most popular packages. That's $7.99 a month. Yeah. Then you have the Executive 12-month, $15.99 a month, and then the Executive Unlimited, $4,000 a month. I know that all my homies. I know my homies. They're looking at this saying, is the $7.99 a month if it's like one dentist, one hygienist, one receptionist, one is a 5-person office? Does size matter? Is that $39.99 a month for some guy that has 3 associates and, you know, blah, blah, blah? I mean, help my homie decide first of all, does it cost for him to call you? Because we both know this from lecturing. Does anybody have any questions? No. Okay, well, hey, let's take a 10-minute bathroom break, and then the whole 10 minutes they all run up and they all have this unique question that's all special and it's all the same one, and you're just like, well, why don't you ask me that when we start back up because everybody has the same question. So they're all thinking they're unique, they're special, you know, it's all different in their world. Do you have does it cost money for them just to call you to go over these 4 deals?
No, not at all. I mean, and there's one you scroll down, you don't even see that. There's a private coaching program that's just me coaching you privately, and I only take on a few of those a year. But that's to go through me, and that's a bigger
schedule a sales call.
Yeah, that's a job. But you can always do a sales call, talk to me. But yes, to answer your question, anybody can reach out to me and get on my calendar, talk to me anytime. You know, there's actually there's a way I think to schedule a call. I think through the site. If not, we can put a link to my calendar there as well. You can get on and talk to me about anything before you commit to anything. You're more than happy to talk.
I got to tell you what I think about these consultants and all that kind of stuff. So in my lifetime, to me, it looks like the dentist, like when I got out of school, it was the new YAG lasers, $50,000. And this company was able to sell 1,000 of them for $50,000 and then go bankrupt. And the lesson in that is people say, well, how could you do that? And I said, well, that's what Procter & Gamble figured out. Procter & Gamble about in the 1880s were the first ones that figured out that, you know, a guy will build this, he'll convert his whole garage into a soap factory. He'll make just a gazillion tons of soap. And then he'll go around to everyone in the village and sell everybody a gunny sack of soap for $1, and everybody buys it, and then he realized that now nobody needs any soap anymore, and he goes bankrupt. So it was the DuPont where he realized we all pay our bills monthly, and we're going to start selling soap in what you run out of any month, because we pay our bills monthly. We need cash flow. Then we can go to the Bank of Ohio and get leverage, and they come out with their favorite DuPont model, which was profit margin times turnover times equity. So if you sell something for $1 and make a dime, that's a 10% profit margin. But it doesn't tell me anything, because the asset that made that bottled water, what did that cost? If it costs $1 and it made $1 a bottle of water and I made 10% profit, then my 10% profit margin equals my 10% return on asset. But what if I didn't build that with my own dollar and I borrowed the $1 and only had to put 10% down? Now that's equity. So it's profit over sales equals sales over asset equals asset over equity to get your ROE. And if you can double digit return on asset ROEs, you're a multimillionaire. But so many dentists, I don't even think it's a numbers game. I don't even think it's a profit margin game. I think it's a pride game. I think they're personally embarrassed. They've always been the smartest person in the class. A lot of my friends were all valedictorians in their high school. They got A's in calculus and physics and geometry and all this stuff like that. And they just don't want anybody to come in there, and they don't want Mike Massotto to come in there and say, "Holy shit, bro, this place is a disaster." I think they're proudful people. They're not. I mean, how many times when I was flying back from lectures, 1,000 times from 50 countries, that when a person says, "What do I do?" I'd say, "Well, before I tell you, I want you to tell me this. How would you describe, say, like your average lawyer, physician, dentist? Like, how would you describe that person?" And they tell me, and I'd say, "Okay, well, let's focus more. Forget the lawyer, forget the not dermatologist, not dentist. How would you describe a dentist?" No one ever said, "Down to earth, humble, nicest guy I ever met, sweet as a pumpkin pie." It's always egomaniac, know-it-all, talks down to you, condescending, makes me feel bad. Profanity, he was a dick, blah, 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 blah. Right. That guy doesn't want Mike Massotto to come in there and see that he's a complete screw up. So my homie, if you're out there and you're embarrassed, it's the same thing with addiction, man. I mean, my gosh, I've been to 1 to 3 funerals a year out here in Phoenix since I've been here for 30 years. And there's 1 to 3 that are suicide-based. And at the funeral, it's always the same thing. "Oh, my God, everybody in the office walked in there once or twice where he was on the nitrous, and we all had to fill scripts for him, and we all knew this, but nobody could tell King Doctor." Nobody knew what to do. Nobody could stand up to him. All they could do was quit or move on or whatever. And now he's in a box and they're all bawling saying, "We could have done something." So the staff's afraid of him. I think the dentist is afraid of you. It's remember that song by The Who, Eminence Front? It's a put on. And so he lives in this bubble. His wife isn't going to stand up to him. Where's she going to go find a job for $10,000 a month? He met her at the Waffle House. How do you get this guy to admit, "Look, dude, you're drinking Listerine, you're screwing up, you're over it"? How do you get him to be humble enough to call Mike the Man Massotto, who, by the way, on the outside looks like, some Star Wars Vulcan guy, but on the inside, he's the sweetest little teddy bear I've ever met. How do you get that guy to come down off his humble bridge and talk?
Okay, well, here's where some coaching comes in. I'm going to give you one of my favorite quotes of all time. You can use it if you want to. And it's a sports analogy quote because Earl Weaver said it. And I say this to my clients all the time. Okay, the great manager Earl Weaver of the Baltimore Orioles from back in the day. Look him up. He used to say this: "It's what you learn after you know it all that counts." Right? All right. So if you think you know it all in dentistry, first clinically, you're done. And I don't think any of you from a clinical perspective will walk around saying, "I'm so smart, I know every damn thing in the world, so I'm done," right? Because you would have stopped at clinic. Because what does clinic teach you about dentistry? Jack, okay? It makes you marginally proficient in dentistry. That's what clinic does. You become great dentists and great clinicians years later. That's why they call it dental practice, because you're constantly practicing to get better clinically with your art. Then you have to take continuing education to master your craft. They don't teach you implants in dental school. Well, I got to take an implant course, or then I'm going to go into Invisalign course, and then I'm going to go do, so there's all, I'm going to go do a laser course. You perfect your trade and your craft. You spend thousands and thousands of hours to become a better clinical master. I'm okay with admitting I'm an idiot when it comes to dentistry. You know why I'm an idiot when it comes to dentistry, clinical dentistry? Because I've never spent 1 minute in dental school. And I'm okay with that, okay? That's fine with me. With nothing wrong with admitting, you know what? They don't teach you business in dental school. They didn't teach you when Dr. Ferran went to dental school, and they sure as hell don't teach it now. And guess what? The reality of it was a hell of a lot easier to be successful coming out of dental school when Howard came out of dental school than it is now. 1,000 times more easier, because it was less dentists, less competitive. It was a whole different world now than it is today. So more than ever, you need to get better at the business and people side of dentistry. And it's okay to admit, you know what? I don't know it all. And there's nothing wrong with getting help. And guess what? All the greatest athletes, if you think of all the greatest athletes in the world, every single one of them has a coach. Okay. If you want to put a pinpoint in the map, when Tiger Woods' career went off the rails and he started going that downward spiral, it's when he fired his coach. All right. So these people, they're never going to be better athletes, better ball players or golfers than the people they're coaching. But because they're on the outside looking in, you know, they've mastered a particular area for years and they can look from the outside, they can help you. There's nothing wrong in life saying, have you gone through life, docs, if you're listening to this, saying, you know, I don't need help my whole life? No, you've gotten help many, many times in life for many different things. What's so different about getting help with your practice? You spend all this money, all this training, you know, clinical training, all these tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to become educated, to get a degree, to get a license, to buy a practice, all that equipment, everything. Why would you want to just sit there and watch it fail? You know, or struggle with it every day, or be miserable in practice? Well, you don't have to be. And that's what drives me crazy I see it every single day, that doctors living anything but an optimal life in practice. And optimum means best possible. It doesn't mean perfection. You don't have to be a perfect business person, just like you don't have to be a perfect clinical dentist. No one is, right? But you could be better. And I will never, and my coaches, they're trained never to make anybody wrong. You know, you don't go, if you want to make, you know, people don't want to be made wrong about anything. But if I asked you, hey, if you're listening to this, you think you can improve? Everybody out there listening to this podcast can say, you know what, I can improve. I can be better. I don't care how good you are. So, but the minute you say, I know it all, and I don't need any help, or I don't need to improve, you're done. You know, I'm a constant work in progress. You know, I'm a much better coach today than I was last week. You know, I'm a much better owner of this company than I was 15, 20 years ago, because it's a learning experience. You're always learning. Okay. I always say to people, my clients, the universe is always speaking to you. Okay. But are you listening? Right. Every day, the universe is telling you something, whether it's through your staff, whether it's through your patients, whether it's through something that happens in your practice. But are you listening? You know, you just shrug it off and say, you know, whatever, you know, there's always a sign there and everything. And I show my doc, look at these numbers. It's always a reality check showing them the numbers, you know, or let me show you something about the staff member. Let me show you something about what you're doing here with this insurance company. It's a reality check, you know, every day they're out there. So it's a constant learning experience. And I said before, you don't want to walk around saying, you know, I don't need help. I don't know, whatever. There's nothing wrong with getting help. You know, they're like I said, there's people online in the talk space better. If Michael Phelps, right, can say, you know, I need help and he's getting therapy. This is a guy is probably one of the greatest athletes that ever walked this planet, you know, in terms of, you know, gold medals and whatever. And he's getting therapy and he's getting help, right?
On what? Therapy on help for what?
I know whether it's with anxiety, whatever situations he had.
But I got to tell you that when you said nobody gets a gold medal in the Olympics, and you said not that they have a coach, man, they got a head coach, they got a nutrition coach, they got a cardio coach, I bet you the average Olympic athlete has 6 coaches. Yeah. And then you ask a dentist, and then here's another thing that just grinds my gears is, you know, you walk in their office and they'll their hygienist just finishes and checks out a patient, had a routine cleaning exam, a recall exam, cleaning exam, and x-ray. And I stop the doc and I say, how much did you just charge for that, for a cleaning exam and x-ray? They can't even guess within like $50. And then I'll say, okay, well, how much you charge for a cleaning? They don't even know that. And then when they tell me what a cleaning, I think our cleaning is like $80. And I'm like, okay, well, how many PPOs are you on? 4? And then you say, okay, look, you're on 12 PPOs and not one of them pays $75 for a cleaning. They're like 73 to 33. And I mean, they're selling a bottle of water They don't even know how much that bottled water costs, and they're selling it for 9 different prices. And with restorative, it's anywhere between $100 for an MOD composite to $200. And I'm like, well, dude, at $200, if that was 100% overhead, I mean, it's just like, God, dude, I don't even know where to start with these people. They're selling something that they don't know how much it costs to make for 9 different prices, and then they think that if it goes wrong, they need to take another TMJ course.
Well, look, I did a Dental Road Warrior episode recently called the Dds Disconnect, and talking about how often I find out that doctors, how disconnected to their practice they really are. I mean, you just can't go into a business and say, I don't know. Like how many times I ask the question, what are your collections? What's your production? What did you do last year? What's going on with, like you just said before, your fee structures? And I hear, I don't know. So there's a responsibility as an owner to say, you can't say, I don't know. It's like a patient, you can't say to a patient when they ask something clinically, would you ever say to them, I don't know? You at least better have some way to get an answer for them. If you don't know, immediately off the top of your head, are you going to go out and get that answer for that patient because you care about them? Right. And this is the thing that brings down your practice. It's not because you're bad dentist. I've met a lot of phenomenal clinical dentists in my life that are just broke. It's not because they're bad dentists, right? Or bad people necessarily. It's because they're in this area of practice, and that's what drives you crazy. When you see the young hotshot comes out of school, doesn't know his ass from his elbow when it comes to dentistry, he's making money hand over fist. It's very frustrating. Yeah. Well, he got good at the other stuff you need to get good at right away. He learned right away that this is a business, and you need to know how to run a business successfully. And it's part of the package. And you have the responsibility to do that. Responsibility to your patients. A poorly run business, this is what happens. That's what keeps people away. They're never going to get quality care and service there if you run the business poorly. They're never going to see how great you are, right? And they're never going to know how great your dentistry is if you can't even get them in your chair or get them sold in a case, for example, or get them to show back up in the practice. All these areas, and we take this for granted every single day. That we're just going to flip a switch and the practice is going to run the autopilot. Right. So there's so much to be learned from this. I'm telling you, it used to be things back in the day, Howard, you remember this, that they try to cram practice management in a weekend, boot camps. Remember the days of boot camps, right? And you can't teach practice management in a friggin' weekend. That's an insult to me, okay? Like, can you learn implants in a weekend and effectively learn implants in a weekend? Can you learn orthodontics in a weekend? You can't, right? There's a lot that goes into what I do, right? Done right. If you do this particularly, because there's so many components that go into having a successful practice. You know what? And just so you don't need an MBA for this. You don't, because most doctors are not going to go back to school to get an MBA in business. I don't have an MBA in business. I have an MBA in life experience working in dental practice. That's for sure. Okay. But all you have to do is master the art and science of 4 things. I'm going to simplify this whole conversation today. You have to master the art and science of 4 things. You can distill this down to 4 principles: what to say and how to say it, and what to do and how to do it. You pick anything in dental practice, it boils down to those 4 things. Pick anything. Your front desk answering the phone. It's a patient calls up last minute trying to get out of an appointment.
Okay, wait, you got to say master the art and science of 4 things.
Yeah.
Okay, I got that type. What's the next?
Well, you have to master. Here they are. The 4 things are what you say and how to say it.
What you say, is that 2 things? What you say,
what
how
to say,
you say it?
What to say and how to say it.
Okay.
And what to do and how to do it. All of practice management boils down to those 2 things.
How to do it.
And what you say and how you say it, and what to do and how you do it. Okay. So pick any scenario. Okay. You had a front desk person answering the phone, and it's a patient calling up last minute to cancel an appointment. It's what she says and how she says it to the patient, and what she does and how she does it, whether the person goes, she challenges him and says, come on, let's get you in here, and not letting him off the hook. Or she says, okay, when do you want to come in next? Right. You're trying to close a case. Your treatment coordinator, it's what she says and how she says it to the patient. It's what she does and how she does it, whether they go, I'm in, how do I work the money out? Or, let me go think about it, I'll get back to you, right? Or let's see what my insurance does, right? Co-diagnosing working hygiene. It's what the hygienist says and how she says it. It's what she does and how she does it. It's that simple, And if you have a system for it and you master it and you learn it and you implement it every single day based on your philosophy, life is great. It's not that complicated. It really isn't. But doctors think this is such a massively complicated thing. I said, as compared to what? And that's another dental word where I did recently. It's so hard. So hard compared to what? Dental school? Dental school to me would be nearly impossible. I am not a science person. I am not good with my hands. I could never do that. You look at what you did. What could you accomplish? How many years of postgraduate education did you do to get your dental degree? So you're trying to tell me running a dental practice from a business perspective is going to be harder than becoming a dentist? No, it's not. It isn't. Trust me. It's much easier than you think. You just got to be willing to put the work in. Willing to look at yourself, willing to change. Remember, I talked about willingness before. Because I get the $64,000 question I get every single day. Mike, will this work in my practice? And I always say to my clients, are you willing and can you change? Because that's what starts at it. Because if you don't want to change anything and you're not willing to do anything different, you're not willing to look at yourself, the practice, nothing's going to work. But it just starts with that. And once you get in the path, a good coach will coach you down the right way, and guide you in the right direction. And anybody coaching, you should guarantee what they do too. I'm a big believer in that too, making sure that they, make sure there is some kind of assurances that you're going to get some return on investment, which I've always done. With my clients, to remove any kind of fear, because they've been burned before. A lot of them before. I don't know how most people go into these engagements with no assurances of any return on investment. But that's another whole other story. But so that's a little bit about, like I said, my philosophy on this with training and coaching and getting help. And nothing wrong with that. Doesn't make you weak. I've had coaches my entire life. Whether it's training, I didn't even walk into a gym one day when I started training and just muddled. I tried in the early years. It hurt myself. Did a lot of stupid things from watching people, and that's one of the worst things you can do is just kind of mimic what other people do and assuming that's the right way of doing things. No, there is a right way and a wrong way to do things for you in your practice, right? And a good coach will show you the path that works best for you. So you don't want to muddle. This is not something you want to muddle through yourself. Just like you wouldn't walk into a procedure in dentistry and they say, "Oh, I don't really know what I'm doing here with this instrument, but I'm going to muddle through this procedure and do the best I can every day." That would be irresponsible. It'd also be dangerous if you did it with your patients. Same thing goes with the business of your practice as well.
Okay, but I gotta. I know we've gone over an hour, and I can't. This has been the fastest hour of my life. But I know how my homie thinks, and I really do, and I know you do too. But they always think their situation is completely different, and it's only. But you go to McDonald's. They sell a Big Mac, fry, and Coke. When dentists are calling you and they said, "Yeah, here's my world," what is the basic hamburger, French fry, Coke? What are the top 3 reasons my homies are calling you? So this guy can see if he's, normal or abnormal. Remember that sign from the funniest scene ever was in Young Frankenstein. What's her name? Abby Normal.
Where did you get this brain? Abby something or Abby Normal, right?
Oh my God, that was so damn funny. But why are they usually calling you? What's the deal?
Well, first time it's hitting them in their pocketbook. I guess it looks at the reality check of money comes in, and they're concerned, that the money is an issue, that they're not making the kind of money they want to make in practice, which is always the big motivator. Stress. Problems in practice that overwhelm. I mean, I always say there's 2 basic problems you can have in practice. Most all practice problems fall into 2 categories: overexpansion or underexpansion. So people don't realize that overexpansion is a problem. If you're growing rapidly and you don't manage growth properly, this is why these DSOs crashed. A lot of them crashed and burned a lot of them, because especially when COVID hit, because they're operating so close to the margins, and when something like COVID hit, puts a lot of them under, which is good for dentists out there. A lot of dentists out there listening. But the overexpansion problem, managing growth, because if you don't manage growth properly, all right, what happens is you get this peak, and all of a sudden it goes back down, because you can't handle it. You're not managing the way you grow. It's like, that's why I say, I get 50 new patients a month. How are you not making millions? Because you're not managing those 50 new patients coming in the door. It's a lot of wasted time and energy and not retaining them. And what happens is you see the practice start going down because you're not managing growth. Right, when it gets there. So that's one thing. But the under expansion thing is a much more apparent thing. People, when the accountant gives them the bad news and say, "Okay, look, you're down again for the 3rd straight year. You're taking less and less money. We're getting less and less patients." Then it's like almost a wake up call. They feel, "Okay, I got to do something about it." But unfortunately, by then it's too late. Why wait till you're in a disaster scenario and then they want a miracle to happen? Someone's going to swoop in and save the practice. That sometimes it gets to a point where, like in clinical dentistry, I can't save that tooth. Maybe if I'd caught it a few years ago, I could have saved it, but now I can't. Sometimes there are practices you encounter that they can't be helped. And I'll let practices know that too. I'm not going to take on somebody that I can't help. And I'll tell them honestly there, but unfortunately, you don't want to let it get to that point. That's why it's so important. You can't be disconnected to your practice. You need to know what's going on. Take a look. When's the last time you really took a look about what's going on and dug in to your practice and see, is it healthy? Is it thriving? Is it viable? Is it going to continue to stay that way? And work on that, because we get complacent and we're on autopilot and we're so focused on the clinical dentistry every day. We don't look at the stuff that I'm talking about every single time. And this is what I do every single day.
Okay. I gotta hold your feet to the fire some more. 3 more things.
Yeah.
They don't need a consultant, because if they buy a CAD cam, a laser, or a CB, if they just buy $100,000 shiny big object with foil on it,
Toys.
all their dreams come true, and I swear to God, they believe it. And then I talked to a guy, Heartland went out and bought like their first 500 offices. I mean, they literally have the data. I podcast. They bought several hundred dental offices with the CEREC machine. Guess how many of them were using it when they bought them? One guy. And then when practice management software came out, they all got it. When the x-ray machine came out, they all got it. When CAD CAM came out, only 12% got it. So for some reason, the 88 other guys in the class that learned geometry and the Pythagorean theorem, were able to, but talk about the big toys, because the only thing I can measure a return on investment is consulting. And I've said that my whole life, and I don't even sell consulting. It's not even my business, but they're right now, he's on his hands and knees licking a CEREC machine. He's licking it, he's drooling all over it. It's $140,000. Just get him to quit licking it.
Let me give you another simple scenario analogy from, if you remember when intraoral cameras came out. Right. This is way back in the day, and these big gigantic units, what they were, and you move them around the room or whatever it may be. That was such a huge expense, these intraoral cameras. That was like, I don't know how much they were back in the day, $20,000-$30,000 was a lot of money for intraoral cameras.
30,000 when they came out.
Yeah, when they first came out. And I used to go into the office, and I used to see it was a hat rack, or a coat was hanging on it. And I always and I go, why are you not using intraoral camera on the page? Well, I said, I can't. The doctor would say to me, I can't get my hygienist to use the camera. That was what they always would say. And I say, Doc, do you use the camera? Oh, no. Okay, so you're not using it. Why would she be using it? And I said, first of all, what system is it part of? Is your hygiene camera, your hygiene intraoral camera part of your hygiene system? And he looked at me like I got 2 heads. Because no matter what tool you buy, that's like the thing about dental shows. I'm at the Javits. Used to go there for years. I kind of haven't gone back in the last several years because people are not there shopping for consulting. They're there shopping for toys. They walk down with the imaginary shopping cart down these aisles, and by the time they walk out of there, they're $100K in the hole from the toys they bought. And they're all sold on what? Well, if you buy this CEREC, it's ROI, right? Return on investment. If you do X amount of this and X amount of that, you're going to pay for this machine X amount of years, right? The problem with that philosophy is who's going to show them, okay, to put some kind of sales system in place to basically get these things sold, to mill these crowns in the machine in the first place. That's why they all end up on eBay. So like I said, we'll buy all the shiny new toys in the world, but never invest in all the money to basically train the people to use these things, to implement them as part of any kind of system. And that's the breakdown. So I said, stop buying the toys. Right, and I'm all for the toy. I think they're the greatest thing. Intraoral camera, you can increase your close ratio 20% if it's used. Okay, if it's used properly as part of a system. Same thing with CEREC. Same thing with lasers. They're all phenomenal. I got people go to Invisalign. They stick the sticker on the window in their office, and they barely sell it. They don't even talk about it every single day when they're there. And yet we have it. And then a patient will leave and get Invisalign somewhere else and come back and go, "Where'd you get those?" Go, "Oh, we do these here." We didn't know because they're not even talking about it in their practice. Right. So this is the problem. The disconnect, again, the DDS disconnect is that, you're out, you'll buy the toys and you're sold on these items. Okay. But these items in and of themselves are objects. They do not make you money unless you have patients in there, unless you have people selling them. Okay. In the environment to utilize them. That's the breakdown. Right. Like you said before, when you coach people and you train people, because every dollar flows through your people, it pays immediate dividends. I've seen offices go up 10, 15, 20,000 in revenue a month in a solo practice. And the only thing that changed was attention, what they were looking at, I didn't teach them all my amazing systems right away. It was a different attitude. It was a different approach. They were different. They were more engaged in the practice and just doing the crap they should have been doing in the first place. And lo and behold, look at all this money that came to us in the practice right now, right? So as I said before, they're nice. The toys and everything are nice. But where the biggest return on investment is going to be is investing in yourself and people to get better, all right, with the training and in your practice and developing on a professional level of your practice. That's why all these big places you love to go to make money, because you look at the highest trained people. How did Starbucks get away with charging $8 for a cup of coffee? Okay, it's training of their people, and they get it down, right? And that's how they do it.
But you know how he did it. His first name was Howard. Howard Schultz. How do you go wrong with?
Change your name to Howard if you can, you'll be successful automatically.
Yeah, I mean, my God, if your name's Howard, obviously he can sell it. But I mean, that's just, I knew that guy was going to be successful the second I heard his name was. Last but not least, honestly, from doing this for 2 decades, and by the way, I've known you for, I mean, I've been there with you all the time on so many times. If someone's dental office does $1, and let's say it does $12 a year, and say they invest, just hypothetically, just $1 into your consulting program in a dental office that does $1 a year, $12 a year, how long would it take for them to get that dollar back from increased net income?
Okay. So, the answer there is it depends. Okay. The variable goes back to the team and how much they embrace the coaching, because I said before, I've seen people get a 10 times return on investment in a month. I've seen people get a 2-to-1 return on investment in a month. I always tell people within 90 days, if you're getting intensive training, you should see a major change in your practice. Like, you know, when you pay for training, same kind of thing. When you get personal training, you'd expect to get a result quicker than if you're muddling around the gym by yourself. Having a trainer, you would expect it in a month. You see a change in your body in a month. I expect to see major change in the practice from coaching within a month, within 30 days, you know, and revenue, because you know why? That money is just there. If you invest that dollar, right, that dollar in advice and guidance and you know, having you look at certain is gonna generate, okay, all the lost revenue that's in your practice right there. You capture all that money right there for starters. So going in right out of the gate, you know, one change, you know, can make a major difference in the practice and boost your revenue dramatically. So like I said, it doesn't have to take a 12 months, a year, you know, multiple years to get you where you want to be to get the ROI. Okay. Whereas these other major investments, you know, how many would you have to do? How many crowns would you have to mill to pay for a CEREC, you know, pay the thing off? Whereas when you do a consulting program, especially when it's a small monthly investment, right? One piece of advice implemented properly at the front desk or in your hygiene chair, multiple return on investment immediately. And the variable always comes back to the doctor. As I said before, the team, you sign up for some of this, you participate in it. You know, if you don't show up for your phone calls and you don't show up for your coaching, right? You don't follow the advice, and when people, then it's not going to work, right? But if you're willing and you're ready to change, it is transformational. And as I said before, you know me for a long time. My reviews are out there. You know, my staff-driven reviews are out there. I'm very proud of those reviews. I don't tell people to write those things. Watch the testimonial video on staffdriven.com. That's on there. Those are not actors and actresses. Those are real people that are out there. It's like, I'm in a life-changing business. That's what I always say. I'm not in the make you money business. I want people to have a life-changing experience, and coaching can do that. It's made a life-changing difference in my life, coaching, whether it's been health and fitness or whether it's been business, dental. It's all made a gigantic impact on me, you know, and so you can make that kind of impact on you as well too.
All right, well, hey man, and thanks so much. And we got a shout out to Mark. We didn't mention Mark.
Mark Deichman of Aesthetic Labs, and
I can't say his name. Mark
Deichman. Mark Deichman from Aesthetic Labs here in New Jersey. He's sponsored you to come in many times. Mark Deichman is a great guy and a big fan of yours. And ironically, as we're recording this podcast, Kathy Nicoletti was ringing my phone to check in with me on something. So I'll tell her, ironically, tell Howard to say hello.
Tell her that I said it on the air that I loved her more than you did. And I got to tell you something. You know what I love the most about dentistry is I went on a cruise one time with Mark Deichman and my I think 3 of my 4 boys. So the oldest, Eric, had just got married. The other 3 went there. And what I love the most about my homies is that they were my boys. They spent so much time with them, answering all their silly questions and all their business ideas. And Mark, he was sitting there and he was acting so serious. They're little kids, and they were telling him these big old deals, and he was trying to make it teachable. And I remember one time my sister called me up crying because Liz, her daughter, was in England or in Ireland, and she left her. They were drinking, and they left their purses in a tab, and they were homeless and had nothing. But thank God she had a cell phone. Call my sister. So I go right to Dentaltown. I go right to the Ireland. We have the country format. Your country. I go right to Ireland. I said, "Help! My niece is lost in Ireland and doesn't have a dime." Within like 10 minutes, some dentist called her on the phone number, picked her up, took him out for dinner, put him in the house, gave him cash. I mean, dentists are so damn cool. Love you to death. Thanks for coming on the show. I'll see you again when this pandemic's over.
Yeah, buddy, it was great to see you and hope to see you out here soon. We have to do something again together soon. Speaking with you is always a blast.